Hey, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and man, it has been a long time since we have looked at Mattel's WWE Retro figures on this channel. It's been literally years because there haven't been any new ones in years. Basically, the line was canceled quite some time ago, and well, that was pretty disappointing to a lot of collectors out there, myself included, because it was one of the best things Mattel was doing for such a long time. And then the line just basically ended to make way for other things, including those Masters Universe figures, which I could definitely live without. But fast forward now to 2022, and at last, retros have returned. And today we are looking at the first revival of them in this awesome 4-pack that came to us from Mattel Creations. This is the brand new re-debut of the Mattel Retro series from WWE, and this is beginning with a new 4-pack with 4 guys we have not gotten figures of previously in this retro series. That's right, this is the first time we're getting figures of Mean Gene Okerlund, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Mr. T, and Cowboy Bob Orton in this style. And we should add that this is also the first time that 3 of those wrestlers, or I should be specific and say 2 of the wrestlers and 1 on-camera personality, are getting retro-style figures. There's a lot of buzz about these toys going around here, and there's a lot of high hopes for them also, and more so optimism for the continuation of this line just beyond the singular 4-pack here. But before we start taking a look at the figures themselves, let's go ahead and do a little deep dive into the packaging. Alright, so here's our look at the packaging. You guys can see on the front we have images of all 4 of the people we're getting in this box set, and it's pretty much the exact same look and aesthetic we've gotten in all of the other previous retro boxes. The red, white, and blue, folks, it's all about that look, because that's what they were doing in that era. It was very much about the American flag, and you guys can see now on the side, we've got, again, the same images, just stacked up against each other. But what's really cool is the back of the packaging, because this is so reminiscent of those original Hasbro figures. It's a black and white photo with black and white drawings. Now, granted, there weren't really black and white photos other than like their bio pictures if they had them, but yeah, you get the black and white illustrations. It's pretty much identical to what you get in the old days. It's great. Same thing on the other side. It's just more images, more of the same, basically. But at this point, you know, you basically have seen it all, and really now it's time to just open this thing up and take a look at what the figures are looking like on the inside. And thankfully, this is a really collector-friendly packaging here, at least at this point. Up to now, it's, you know, collector-friendly. But we just open up this, and you can kind of get a little glimpse in there that we've got all 4 of our figures individually carded. So as far as collector-friendly goes, this is kind of where that will unfortunately come to an end. So here are all the figures lined up right now together, and you can see how they're looking out of the package. So when I talked about being collector-friendly, I mean, yeah, the reason it ends at that cardboard box where you put them all in is because these are all blisters. These are all individually packaged figures. So really, once you pop them out of there, they're not going back in. These are basically one-time use, and that's how it was with figures. It's not like today's Elites where you can do that with. It's kind of more like in the basic style if you want to compare it to today's WWE Mattel toys. So yeah, they're meant to basically be taken right out or left this way forever. It's basically one or the other, unless you were lucky and got yourself 2 sets. So as far as the look of these things compared to other figures, well, you can see they all have the classic WWE Retro style logo, which we saw with previous releases of the retro figures. They all have an image of the wrestler right behind them, like we've seen also with previous releases of the retro style figures. And again, just like other previous retro style figures, say it all with me, they all include the authentic Superstar Move logo. And in fact, just for the sake of comparison here, I'm going to go ahead and swap out our Bob Orton here with a John Cena, who I think was from like the first wave. So you guys can see side-by-side comparison of how these things are looking. And yeah, retro logo is the same. The Superstar Move is the same. Just the difference is it's yellow with this release, whereas it was red with these. You've got the images of them, which are a little bit different. You know, it looks like, I think all of these earlier releases had like the black background. I don't quite remember. These look like they're going to go with this kind of effect, this lighting effect in the background. So that's an interesting thing if it matters to you. But otherwise, you know, packaging is very similar. It looks like it's more or less the same size. The one downside about all of these figures, though, as I kind of scroll over a little bit, and it's again just like it was with the previous retros, is that they all have little problems standing up straight. And in fact, you see that they're all standing up right now. But if you actually take a little peek, in fact, between Mr. T and Cena, you'll see something hiding behind them. And that's because, well, there's a little bit of space underneath the figure and the blister here. So the problem with that means you can't just stand these things straight up like they were an Elite or any other wrestling figure in that style. You can't really compare it to a basic, but as far as an Elite goes, you know, those are pretty much flat bottoms. These figures do not have flat bottoms. They have a little bit of a raised space between them, so they are elevated off the ground, which means you can't just stand them straight up. So if you want to display these things, you got to either lean them on something and tempt fate and hope they don't fall over, or you got to use these nice J-hooks up here and attach them to something. So you're going to have some limited options. I guess alternatively, you could get some figure defender cases, and that will help it. I think it should help it keep them straight, but that's not a guarantee either. I don't think they do. But again, it's been a while since I've even looked at my own figure defender cases, these things. So that's how that looks. Well, let's do one other quick comparison while we're talking about packaging, and that's going to be this right here. This is an original Hasbro Mr. Perfect figure. Look at that beauty. So let us compare it now to the rest of this lineup. And, you know, again, you can see size-wise, they're pretty darn similar. Just like the retros, they also can't stand straight up on their own. So, you know, if you've been collecting these Mint card, you kind of already know what you're dealing with here. The difference also is currently the designs. You know, we've got red borders. We have all sorts of different border colors with the originals. These, not really seeing that as much. I don't remember that being a thing with the previous releases. But again, it's been a few years since we've looked at all those. So if anybody out there knows any differences besides that, do correct me. I do kind of miss the illustrations with the moves, which we don't get here. That's kind of fun to have. But yeah, we don't get that anymore. So I'm going to actually turn over Mr. Perfect, so we could talk about the back of the packaging here. And I guess we'll keep using Mr. T just because he's closest right now to Mr. Perfect. So what's nice is, again, going back to that black and white motif, yeah, it's still the exact same black and white motif. And I really, really like that about these figures. And it's really seeing them side by side, and you can see the design aesthetic is very similar with this kind of pattern, this kind of shape that we're getting here between the two packages. The illustrations of all the toys. We're seeing, again, even like on the right side, we have the image of how the move works, which is pretty cool. We don't have a checklist, unfortunately. No checklist here between them. I don't think they're ever going to do that. But the upside of that is that we do get larger illustrations, so that's kind of cool. And we even get a sort of little identity card like we have here between these two things. So pretty cool, pretty fun that they're making them very similar in that regard. So as far as the boxes go, well, as Danhausen would say, they're very nice. Although he would say it in a much more evil kind of way, but I'm not Danhausen. I'm sorry, I haven't gotten that power yet. But let's go ahead now and cut to the chase, although there is no chase in this series. They're all the same, but sorry, bad pun aside. Let's go ahead and get these figures out of the box and finally into the ring. All right, and here are our retros now lined up, or at least 3 of them, because that's all I can really fit in this ring at once, the way I'm shooting this. So we have our Mr. T, our Rowdy Roddy Piper, and our Cowboy Bob Orton. And yes, I'll have him right over here, I guess, for the time being. Mean Gene Okerlund, there he is. So it's a little hard to get him like this. So let me do a little bit of posing and talk about some of my thoughts about them. So, you know, first thing, I got to say that likenesses are really nice across the board. Everybody's got some excellent facial sculpts here. You know, just great design here. And keep in mind, you know, folks always will say scans when they do these reviews. It's one of my biggest nitpicks, because none of these heads were scanned, folks. These are sculpted. They're digitally sculpted. They're not scanning these people, especially because Rowdy Roddy Piper is not with us. Mean Gene is no longer with us. So they're not exactly scanning everybody. These are cartoon versions of sculpts. Okay, that nitpick aside. As far as likenesses go, yeah, I like them all. I think they're all pretty darn strong looking for the most part. I think they all look pretty good. I mean, and keep in mind, these got to be a little bit stylized. So yeah, they're also getting the stylies. They're meant to be caricatures. You know, I mean, my personal favorite would definitely be Mean Gene Okerlund. I just really like his facial expression. But Mr. T is pretty strong too. I'd say, in fact, out of all of them, I think Mr. T is the most realistic looking sculpt. Don't know why that is. Maybe it's something in his contract he asked to be more realistic than everybody else. I don't know. I'd probably say Piper is probably one of the weaker ones, and Orton's, I think, also actually pretty decent. I think Orton's pretty good. It kind of surprised me as well, like how good he looks. But I think Piper, it might just be the paint job. It's not quite doing it for me. So let's kind of go through these guys, I think, one by one. And let's go ahead first, and I guess let's start with Piper. In fact, he's already in the ring. So our Piper, he's still wearing his kilt, and that is a removable accessory, which is pretty handy to have. However, I know from the past that removing this kilt usually means you're not getting it back on. So stiff out the box. Yikes, these are some stiff shoulder joints. But it is removable by one, let's see, it looks like 2 little things here. So I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to hope we can put it back on. So unfortunately, Piper has one of the action features I dislike the most. And that is the kilt kick, they're calling it here. But basically what it is, it's the same move that Sheamus had, it's the same move that Shawn Michaels had. It's just basically a pullback kick. I've currently got it locked in position, but there you go. It's just this really good kick. It's pretty strong, actually. It's a very strong action feature, but I don't like it because I got a Sheamus and it was broken immediately out of the package, so I'm already kind of biased against it. And, you know, I can at least get Sheamus to stand up, and that's okay. I'm actually okay with the fact that it broke. I just hate that it broke. So something about it is kind of off, and it might be the fact that the way it works is just, you know, pull the leg back and boom, and then you kind of lock it back into place. So it feels like it's just kind of a tenuous thing to have for an action feature. But otherwise, Piper looks very good. I like the body shape. I like the detail with the wrist tape. I like his colors as well. They got the colors, I think, really, really nicely on his boots and his trunks and his knee pads. So that's all really good. And again, I think, you know, actually, as I look at this Piper more, I think I actually am liking it a little bit more. I think the problem is it's very stylized, I feel like, more than the others were in this case. Is it better than his original Hasbro one? I don't really have that one with me, unfortunately. I've got that one kind of somewhere else. But do I like that one more? Tough to say, because I wasn't really a big fan of that Piper either. So this might be a slight upgrade. It's definitely more of, I mean, it is a younger version of him too, with the shorter hair. So I think I kind of like it. Still might not be the strongest, but I'm going to say that even if it's not the strongest, it doesn't make it bad. It just makes it not as good as the others. So let's move on to Mr. T. Mr. T, surprising me off the bat with how good that likeness is here. Really cool outfit. I love the gold as well. The gold trim looks really great. The different colored laces are very awesome as well. And that likeness is very good. You know, I really can't get around how good this likeness is. This almost looks like it might as well just be like an elite head for a Mattel figure because it's really just that good looking. And outfit-wise, you know, I think it's also pretty close to what he wore at the first WrestleMania. So no complaints here, folks. This is a good-looking outfit. Now, he has, I think it's actually a brand new move. He's got his move called Spin of the Fool, which is an airplane spin. And you just kind of wind him up and boom, he goes. Pretty sure no one's had that before. And I kind of wish they gave it to Brock Lesnar because, man, that's like the perfect F5 right there. But what it is an airplane spin. And that's a move that Mr. T can certainly pull off and has, I believe. You could also have him do his arms stretched out, and it's kind of like a really cool clothesline effect. So it's a neat-looking move. It is a little... it looks actually okay. It's not that bad. I was going to say it looks a little weak, but you just got to kind of get a little bit more force. But, you know, he can only go so far back. I don't think he can pull back more than... Well, no, he can keep going. All right, well, pretty decent. All right, surprised by how dynamic that range of motion actually is there. So if you are going to do any moves with him, yeah, you can get some stuff going. Granted, most of us here are not going to really be playing with our toys like that, but, you know, it's good to know that you can if you want to. Let's go ahead and pop in our Bob Orton now. Let's talk about this Bob Orton. Again, really cool because he has the painted-on cast. This is not sculpted like the recent Elite Legends that actually has a separate sculpted cast. This is just painted on, but hey, at least it's there. Good attention to detail. Now, in the WrestleMania 1 match, Bob Orton was basically wearing street clothes, so, you know, we didn't really get to see him in his wrestling trunks, but there he is. That's his outfit. He's got the classic look here. I think he mostly wore, like, black, but, again, this is not really my era, so I couldn't really tell you a lot of what he did or didn't do as far as outfits go. But it's a nice color, and it definitely stands out amongst a lot of the other figures I've already seen that are previously released, so, you know, hey, I'll take it as an interesting choice. The one thing that I like about this figure a lot is he has my favorite action feature, and they call that the Cowboy clothesline here. But yeah, it's basically, you know, a feature from the original figures that they kept on. Just pull them back and boom. Sock the guy in the face or give him a clothesline, whatever you want to do. It was always one of my favorites because, you know, as a kid too, if these toys had weird features, like again, going back to the kilt kick here, sometimes they wouldn't be able to stand upright, especially if their action features got busted. So with the clothesline, it gave you a lot more options. You could wrestle a little bit more too. You could just kind of play with them and not have to rely on the action feature. And that's what I liked as a kid. I wanted to tell my own stories, not have an action feature, tell me what to do. So, yeah, I've always been a fan of this one here because it's pretty dynamic and lets you have a lot of choices. However, the one thing you don't have a choice on is this hat. And I was surprised to find out this is a part of the sculpt. This is not a removable hat. So, again, unlike the recently released Elite Legends figure that does have a removable hat, this does not come off. It is permanently latched onto his head. Nothing you can do about that. So, you know, didn't know about that. I guess I'm not surprised by that either. But I'm disappointed by it. So, yeah, use that information however you will. Otherwise, you know, good figure too. I like this one a lot. I like him a lot more than I thought I would. And finally, last but certainly not least, Mean Gene Okerlund. This is one I really, really wanted. And to be completely honest, when I found out they were making these, I was hoping Mean Gene was going to be separate because, not to be smirch to anybody else we're talking about today, but I really didn't care much. I mean, I definitely really didn't need a Bob Orton figure, a Mr. T figure. I'm like, whatever on. And Rowdy Roddy Piper, again, I'm kind of indifferent to. But Mean Gene, I really, really wanted. So I was very excited to get him and very excited to see that his likeness is really good. Yeah, I'm going to stand by what I said. I think Mr. T has the most realistic likeness for sure. No doubt about it. But Mean Gene, he has got the most kind of Hasbro vibe to the figure, and I like that so much. Now, the outfit, too, same thing. It's great. The pants are good. The shoes are good. The body's great. I mean, it's all accurate. It's such a good-looking piece here. And what's cool, too, is this mic does come out. And a few of the figures do have open hands, like Roddy Piper, so you can kind of get him in there. And, yeah, Roddy Piper can more or less hold the microphone now, but more so I'll leave Piper in the ring. What's more important, though, is that Mean Gene can hold the mic. And there you go. But there is a downside to this because, yeah, as I'm trying to, you know, pose him and have Mean Gene interview him, well, you can't really do that because it's a snapping feature. Oh, see, there goes the kick. That's why I don't like the kick, folks. So, yeah, unfortunately, you can't, like, have him just holding the mic. He's going to always be doing this move here. So he's got his own little action feature. And that is the hard-hitting interview. And it's a cool little knockdown thing, I guess. But see that kick just always goes off. I hate that kick, folks. I hate that kick. So, you know, again, the one like main thing you'd want to use this Mean Gene for is like to have figures cut promos with. And case in point, our first comparison now. Here is an original Hasbro Hulk Hogan figure. And yeah, you can kind of pretend he's interviewing him, but that microphone's pretty far down, so you can't really like have it up in his face like it should be. It doesn't stay in that position, it's just kind of down there. So that part, a little disappointing. I'm not too happy with that. I've got this Hogan in here. Let's actually put Piper next to him too now, just so we can do some direct comparisons with some of the Hasbros. And you can see them, they fit in just fine. I mean, if anything, I think the Hasbros are more dynamic in general and a lot more cartoony, which I like about them. And that's, of course, I think why everybody likes these figures. Here's Bret Hart, one of my favorites of all time. The bodies are definitely a lot bigger, too, on the Hasbros. That's something they still haven't really changed. I think the bodies on the current series of Retros, they're much more realistic. They're a little bit based more in reality as opposed to these guys here from Hasbro. But that's one of the things we love about them, right? Same thing with the faces, too. The faces are so much more expressive, and I don't think we get that. They're usually just very neutral, or maybe you'll get a few yelling faces, and that's pretty rare with the Retro line. So that's something else I kind of wish Retros would do, is be more expressive. I mean, this is a pretty bland face. I kind of wish Piper was yelling, in fact. That would be so much cooler because it would be more accurate to who he was. Let's take out the Hasbros for a second. And while we're in Retro land, let's compare him to a WCW Galoob figure. And I mean, yeah, they're basically the same size, more or less, but let's be a little crazy. Let's bring in an original San Francisco Toymaker ECW figure, which, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Rob Van Dam towering over little baby Roddy Piper. Well, there you guys go. At least now you know what it looks like all together. So not too far off in the scale with WCW guys, but ECW, maybe not so much. So let's do one last thing here, and let's just actually see if I can get this kilt back on here, because if I can't, I'm going to be so annoyed. Because, yeah, that's the problem with, I think, another Roddy Piper figure I had. I have, like, one of the older elites of him, and came with a kilt, and I've not been able to get the kilt back on the same way ever again. I know there's also a Drew McIntyre that just came out. I don't know how that kilt is, but, all right, I actually got this back on. So, hooray, that worked. Wow, consider me shocked, folks. Let's go ahead and load the ring back up with the rest of our wrestlers one more time here. We got our Mr. T. We got our Piper, who's already kicking again. Oh, my God. All right, let's put our Bob Orton right over here. Maybe do this with him. Slide them down. We'll have Mean Gene right in the middle doing an interview segment. So, yeah, I'm actually really happy with these. Like I said at the start of this video, I was hesitant originally about getting this 4-pack because I only wanted really one of the figure out of 4. But now that I've got them in front of me, I'm pretty excited to have them all together, and I think they all look good. And best of all, Retros are back. So I think these sold pretty darn well. And if that's the case, there's going to be a lot more of these in the future. But yeah, if you missed out on these, oh boy, you're going to have a hard time finding them now because they were a super limited pre-order. I imagine they're going to be getting scalped very hard. So yeah, I don't really know if there's any solution to that. I don't think they're going to get any cheaper anytime soon either. Will they do a re-release? Beats me. I don't work for Mattel. So if you didn't get them, I'm sorry about that. I guess next time just got to be a little bit faster in the draw. I mean, I got real lucky, I feel, also getting these things. So yeah, as you can see here, though, pretty great. And it's so good to have Retros back, and so good to be reviewing and talking about Retros again. So yeah, cannot wait for more of these. All right, and that is our review of the figures. I will make one more note here. As I was kind of playing with this guy a little bit afterwards, I was done filming that part, it did kind of come to me that you probably can get Mean Gene's arms into a position to hold the microphone better. I don't want to risk it personally, and that's because, as I mentioned, I had a Sheamus that the leg was broken in immediately out of the package, and I'm also pretty positive I did review another retro figure that actually broke on camera while we were reviewing it, so I'm a little afraid to kind of play with that too much. It's not like these were expensive figures, but they're pretty rare figures, and I can't necessarily replace them now, so it's, to me, not worth the risk. I'm sure you probably can do it, I just don't feel comfortable trying that out, so for the time being, Mean Gene will have to have his interview hand all the way down to his hips. So this is a very strong relaunch, but the real question is, what is next for the Retro series? And I don't know. The retro market has changed a lot because a few years ago, all we had were these. And now fast forward to today, 2022, we have Chella Toys doing his versions, and we have Zombie Sailor doing his versions. So we now have 2 independent people making their own toys that are in this size, in this scale. That's really cool, and they're filling a lot of gaps that, well, quite honestly, WWE cannot do. So you've got these 2 indie guys out there doing some really interesting work in completely different areas from this, but all still fits into this really cool expanding universe. So, that does kind of make things a little more interesting right now in 2022, because what can Mattel do? And basically the rights that they have are figures that we're already getting folks of. So we're probably not going to get updated versions ever, at least from WWE, of the Road Warriors or Demolition. Although granted, I think they're both being made by either Zombie or Cello or a combination of the two, so go figure with that. But yeah, there's a lot of guys they really can't touch, and they kind of have like a limited array of who they can use in front of them. So my thoughts on what's next is, from my idea of how things are, I feel like they're going to be sticking with multi-packs. So to me, the next thing they could probably do would be updated versions of some other guys, or maybe some new versions of other guys too. So my initial thoughts are we still don't have a Hogan, and this line in particular could really benefit from having a proper Hogan. So I would not be shocked if they did a 2-pack of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, because it's been a long time since we had an updated version of Andre from Mattel, especially we haven't gotten one at all in this type here. Now, again, Zombie Sailor is doing his own version of Andre the Giant, and we know Super 7 is doing Andre stuff, McFarlane Toys is doing Andre stuff, so his license is out there and all over the place. But yeah, there is a strong possibility we could see it back in this size, and I would not be opposed to seeing that, because I think we need some bigger figures here. And if the multi-pack thing is what they're going to do, I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't do an NWO 4-pack, perhaps. We can get another Hogan, we can get ourselves a Nash, we can get a Hall, we can get a Six, or X-Pac, whatever you want to call him in this case. And speaking of him, in fact, why not a D-Generation X 4-pack? We could get ourselves Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, X-Pac, and another version of Triple H. There's definitely some new places they can go with this line. It's just a matter of what they want to do and how often these are going to come out. So I'm hoping that Mattel saw there is clearly a demand for these, and they will continue making more retro-style figures because, man, they're so good. It's so great to have them back again. I'm so excited about them. I want more. I think you want more also, too. So you know what? In the comments below, let me know who you want to see Mattel do next and join this retro series, because this roster is going to definitely grow if this line continues, and I want it to get real big. So let me know who you want to see next. But overall, again, if you missed out on these, I'm real sorry, folks, because they're pretty darn great, and they're going to be real hard to come by. And I feel like it's going to be same for the next series that they do also. So I highly doubt we're ever going to see these in stores again. It's probably not likely at all, to be honest. So it's going to probably be Mattel Creations or other stores exclusively having them, like Ringside Collectibles can get them. But yeah, if you missed out on this, sorry, but better luck next time. That's unfortunately the best I can tell you. But the upside is, yeah, they're really great. They're still amazing, and there's a lot of potential for the future with these figures. So really stay tuned, get your wallets ready, and just don't miss out next time around. So that's our look at the relaunch of the WWE Mattel Retro Series. Really great 4-pack. So excited for the future because there's so much that could happen, and I really want it to happen. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today, and we will see you guys later with more action figure reviews and everything else we do here on the channel.